think it's going to end with everybody changing their habits.
Just start working now, otherwise we won't have time. We're going to be out of oil within a few years.
Natural gas is getting short, everything's getting short, and unless we can harness the power of the sun, it's going to run out eventually.
The power of the sun. At one time or other, the sun has been to man God, King, Father, Brother. But beyond all that, the controlling force of all that lives and moves here on Earth. Its fiery element would change the course of continents and seas, would send awesome currents of pure energy charging through the atmosphere. Working with other elements, the sun would first stir life on our planet. Gradual shiftings and upheavals would bury creatures and plants beneath the surface of the Earth. There, subjected to time and tremendous pressures, they would fossilize, eventually turning into huge reservoirs of oil and gas and coal. Billions of years would pass. Then, from these underground beds of fossil fuels, man would draw the means for duplicating, in his small way, the power generated by the sun. At first, energy was used for heat and light. Its uses multiplied slowly, then faster and faster, until finally the fuse was lit for a virtual energy explosion that would affect all aspects of our lives. When a circuit breaker or fuse blows in our home, it's not because there's no energy available. It's simply that we've called for more energy to be delivered to a given place than the line can take, and the whole system blows. The principle of the household fuse or circuit breaker, keeping supply and demand in near balance, can be extended to all forms of energy. All, in effect, have circuit breakers. And when the demand grows greater than the immediate supply, the circuits break.
Attention all passengers. Flight 307 is canceled until further notice.
It was announced today that gasless Sundays will go into effect as of next month.
And when several circuits break at the same time, we have an energy crisis. We're in an energy crisis now, and will be for some time to come. All we can do is face it, recognize it, and meet the challenges it poses. Ours is a crisis characterized by shortages of all kinds.
We have at present an absolute shortage of natural gas. We cannot produce as much as we can use, as we are equipped to use in our homes and our factories. This situation is destined to continue indefinitely. And by indefinitely, I mean not only just the next few years, but as far ahead as we can see.
Crisis is nothing new to man, whose progress from earliest times has been marked by a constant quest for new ways to harness and make use of energy resources. He learned to use winds to grind grain. Burning wood provided him with heat. With the coming of steam engines, wood would become the source of fuel to push ships and trains across the face of the earth. Coal was the first fossil fuel to be exploited as a seemingly endless source of heat and power. We tunneled deep into the earth to dig it out. History is filled with references to oil, the fossil fuel we most rely on today. As far back as 300 BC, the Chinese drilled 3,000 feet for oil, using bamboo tubes and bronze bits. In 1859, Edward Drake drilled this country's first producing oil well near Titusville, Pennsylvania. The coming of oil triggered a rush to likely-looking spots as prospectors set out to claim quick and easy riches. Spindletop in East Texas, the Seminole fields of Oklahoma. Edison's invention of the light bulb would lead to a world electrified and increase the need for coal and oil and natural gas to generate electric power. The gasoline engine demanded fuel to run our cars. Energy was something to use and use and use. As the pace of life quickened, we were into the 20th century. Now there were cars, trains, airplanes, appliances galore. Our industrial progress and economic growth was fired by what many seem to look on as endless energy. But warning signs were there. Until 1950, the United States could supply the energy needed. But in less than 25 years, we found ourselves in trouble. Each year, we used 5% more, doubling our demand every 12 to 14 years. Coal production stayed at 1940s levels. Crude oil production dropped. In 1968, natural gas consumption began exceeding new discoveries. Oil companies during this period were encouraged to get oil and gas from other countries. By 1970, we imported 1/3 of our oil and gas, relying on others to meet new needs. Then, in 1973, the big Middle East producers cut off oil shipments to major consuming countries. When the embargo was lifted, the price of foreign oil had jumped from $3 to $12 a barrel, 4 times higher than before. More than $20 billion left the United States. No one was spared its impact.
Well, just looking at my bills, I'm getting upset. Paying more for electricity every month. And the gasoline is going up, and I'm used to being able to go when I want to, but suddenly I think I'm going to have to start curbing my habits.
My family and I have tended to conserve energy, both in limiting the use of our cars, plus cut back on the heat in the home, less use of the air conditioner, and in general, a conservation ethics has come across our house.
What I've seen of people, most of them are pretty selfish. It's all right to let somebody else do it, but when it comes right down to home, why, they just want to go along the same old way.
Although some went on in the same old way, eventually the Middle East embargo would be felt by all of us. 1 out of every 7 gallons of oil we'd been using to power our homes, our cars, our businesses, and our schools just wasn't there anymore. At the height of the embargo, 500,000 people were thrown out of work. Products we manufactured and sold dropped from $10 to $20 billion in value. We were caught by surprise with a crisis that could recur and recur unless the entire country recognized the dangers of a quite real energy shortage. And out of the embargo was born Project Independence, a launching pad from which would evolve this country's first national energy policy. We must be able to cope with future emergencies. We must immediately fully use our traditional energy sources. We must develop new sources. We must manage better the present demands placed on energy. We must conserve. The first 3 goals are largely the job of government and industry. The 4th, conservation, is up to all of us. The blueprint was designed to make the United States energy self-sufficient by 1985. That is, we would import some oil, but would not be so dependent on other countries. To meet this challenge, we must change our energy habits. We must end our love affair with the big car and use buses and commuter trains.
Only passengers with Metroliner tickets may board the Metroliner.
We must walk or use bikes rather than drive. We must pay more attention to energy used in the home to guarantee that cool air is kept in the summer, warm air in the winter months. When lights aren't needed, they should be turned out. But cutbacks by individuals are not enough to prevent future shortages. Converting raw materials into energy uses up a tremendous amount of energy itself. So do manufacturing and heavy industrial plants. We must save fuel there, too.
Here at the San Leandro plant, we have reduced our energy consumption 25%. We've achieved this primarily by being smart about when we turn lights off and on, and making sure that our equipment is running in the most efficient manner, and turning our thermostats down. When you look at it, you wonder why you didn't do this before, but I'm sure it'll be carried forward in the future, and new and better ways to conserve energy will be thought of.
Waste material can be used as a source of energy. A project in St. Louis has proven that garbage can be put to use in generating power. Used fuel that once we paid others to haul away is being recycled. Manufacturers of basic products can now collect, crush, compact, and recycle metal containers once considered fit only for the garbage heap. This can result in as much as a 95% savings in energy over what it would cost to start with raw materials.
Our savings year to date are well in excess of $1 million in plain hard cash. So we're convinced that an energy conservation, in addition to saving energy and conserving short fuel supplies, is just plain good business sense.
For all these first steps taken in conserving energy, real conservation means planning by all of us for most efficient use of energy in the future. Real conservation means planning our office buildings, industrial complexes, and homes to take advantage of natural light, natural heat, natural coolness, natural ventilation. Real conservation means that while striving to achieve the most efficient car and truck engine, we must limit our driving now to what is absolutely necessary. The fact remains that conservation alone will not give us the energy needed to permit our country to prosper at its present level. This brings us to the second goal, to develop our oil, coal, and gas. Much of this country, particularly in the West, was once a sea. Today, it's a sea of scrub oak, sand, and sage. And beneath its surface lie rich pools of oil and beds of coal, enough, some say, to answer our needs for centuries.